Today is Thursday, Parashat Vaera, and we're dealing in these weeks with the Exodus from Egypt. There is a concept that is brought by our sages, Bizchut Nashim Tzadkaniyot, with the merit of the righteous women, the Jewish people were redeemed from Egypt. The women in Judaism hold a very, very important place, whether it's in the family unit or on a national level. And there are many examples, starting with the fact that in Egypt, what is this idea of the women? They were righteous, and with their merit, the Jewish people were redeemed from Egypt. The husbands would be broken from all the hard labor throughout the day as slaves, and they would come home, and there was a decree of Paro that every boy that would be born would be thrown to the Nile, and it was a very, very difficult time. Yet, the women made sure to uplift the spirit of their husbands. They groomed themselves according to the Midrash, and to make their husbands feel comfortable and to ensure that there is a continuation of the Jewish people. They continue to have children, and they continue to bring a light into the darkness of the slavery of Egypt. Now, the women, we find in other situations where the women had the clarity of vision, they had a kind of bina yetera, and the kind of, they made the right choices. When Aaron HaKohen asked for the husbands to go home and bring the jewelry for making the golden calf, the women refused to give the jewelry. So you could think, well, women are too attached to their jewelry to give it away. But when Moshe Rabbeinu asked for gold and silver, for those precious metals to be used in making of the Mishkan, the women were the first ones to give their jewelry. They were the first ones to give their gold. The men gave after the women because they were ready to do that for the Mishkan, for building a sanctuary. But for the golden calf, no. According to the Midrash, when the spies came back with a negative report about the land of Israel, and people cried on that night, that was the night of Tisha B'Av, the women apparently had the clarity of vision not to believe those negative reports, of those false reports of the Meraglim, of the spies. In making of the Mishkan, the vessels and the various parts of the Mishkan are given in exact measurements in the Torah. There is one item that doesn't have a measurement. That was a basin made of copper that the Kohanim used to wash their hands and their feet as they went into the service, into doing the service in the Mishkan. That kior, that vessel, did not have a measure because they used the copper mirrors. The women had mirrors made of copper that they used to groom themselves, to uplift the spirits of their husbands, and to make them feel good when they came back from work with a hard labor. So those marot atzovot, which is those mirrors made of copper, as many as were donated, the vessel was made from it, that kior from which there was the hands, the Kohanim. The parasha also of last week that tells us of the birth of Moshe Rabbeinu was as a result of the clarity of vision of Miriam, the prophetess. Miriam was Moshe's sister. Amram had separated from his wife because he didn't want to have a child that may be thrown into the Nile. That decree of Paro that every boy would be thrown into the Nile. Miriam told her father, by separating from their mother, from his wife, he had a decree that was even harsher than Paro. The decree was that not only boys will not be born, but even girls will not be born. But if a girl was born, Paro would not have her thrown into the Nile. And she, by her logic and her convinced Amram to go back to his wife Yocheved, and then Moshe Rabbeinu was born. And there are many examples. So in Judaism, we make sure that the Talmud, the Gemara tells us that a person should give honor to his wife, should respect his wife, even yoter migufo, more than his own person. He should respect, have care, and honor his wife. And the wife is called the akeret habayit, the ikar, the main pillar of the household. So with these ideas from the parasha of this week, we definitely recognize the contribution of the Jewish women to their household, to the education of their children, and to the good of Am Yisrael, even on a national level. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen ve'amen.